East Africa's billion-dollar boom. Is this trade miracle here to stay? For the first time ever, East Africa exported more than it imported, a historic achievement. But is this a sign of lasting success or just a lucky break? Hi, I'm Sina Exau and this is Analytica Today. This year, the East African community recorded its first ever trade surplus, exporting over $840 million more than it imported. Exports surged by 47%, driven largely by booming demand from China. It's a remarkable turnaround for a region traditionally burdened by trade deficits. But beneath this milestone lies some tough questions. Is this surplus sustainable? How did the region achieve sudden success? And what does it mean for East Africa's economic future? Let's break it down. For decades, East Africa struggled with chronic trade deficits, historically reliant on raw material exports, coffee, tea, flowers, minerals. Countries like Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Ethiopia, and DRC found themselves importing far more manufactured goods than they exported. By 2023, total merchandise trade for the EAC stood at around $80 billion annually, yet intra-regional trade remained stubbornly low, just 15%. This meant most trade was with global partners, leaving the region vulnerable to external market shocks and currency fluctuations. Regional integration efforts like the African Continental Free Trade Area and the Tripartite Free Trade Area aimed at reversing this, struggling initially hampered by poor infrastructure, complex tariffs, and weak industrial bases. But this year, something shifted dramatically. In the first quarter of 2025, the East African community made history by exporting goods worth over $17.7 billion, surpassing imports totaling $16.8 billion. China emerged as East Africa's leading export market, purchasing unprecedented volumes of minerals, coffee, tea, horticultural products, and processed goods. Why the sudden spike? Globally, China's strained relations with traditional trading partners like the US, EU, and Australia created opportunities for East African producers. Tariffs and geopolitical tensions opened doors previously closed, allowing EAC exports like Tanzanian cashew nuts, Kenyan tea, Ethiopian coffee, and Congolese minerals to gain traction in Chinese markets. At the same time, diversification began taking root. Some East African countries started shifting from exporting raw commodities toward processed goods. Kenyan textile exports, Tanzanian processed food products, and Rwandan technology services grew significantly. Yet, there's another side to the story. The surplus still heavily relies on external factors, high commodity prices, and favorable market conditions. That can quickly change. This unprecedented trade surplus, though historic, remains fragile. The underlying weaknesses haven't disappeared. Without structural reforms and sustained regional integration, East Africa's breakthrough might vanish as quickly as it appeared. While a trade surplus brings immediate benefits like improved currency stability, increased foreign exchange reserves, and reduced debt burdens, the EAC still faces significant vulnerabilities. First, intra-regional trade remains very low at around 15%, limiting long-term resilience. Heavy reliance on commodity exports also makes the region vulnerable to global price volatility. Any downturn in global demand, especially from China, could swiftly reverse recent gains. Experts suggest a clear path forward. East Africa must rapidly deepen regional integrations. Initiatives like AFCFTA and TFTA provide frameworks for stronger intra-African trade, but effective implementation remains slow. Additionally, digital innovations like the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System could reduce reliance on foreign currencies and simplify regional transactions. Infrastructure investments in transport corridors, railways, ports, and logistics hubs are critical. Without reliable roads, efficient ports, and streamlined custom processes, the full potential of regional trade will remain untapped. East Africa's trade surplus is undeniably a groundbreaking achievement, but the real test begins now. Sustaining this historic milestone requires more than favorable market conditions. It calls for deliberate policies, stronger regional integration, and investment in value-added industries. The question is, can East Africa turn this promising moment into a lasting economic transformation, or will it remain vulnerable to tides of global markets? Tell us what you think. Will this trade surplus last? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm Sina Exo, and this has been Analytica Today. See you next time.